Hello folks, Fat Guy Flies RC here. We're coming to you from the hangar of a man cave here. We're going to be talking about the e-flite Habu STS. Now, I have the plug and play version. I put in an Admiral Stability Plus receiver. But what we're going to talk about, this is a follow-up video of the my Grass Ops Gone Bad video where I was trying to demonstrate flying the Habu with a forced cell and landing and taking off in the grass. Well, folks, word of warning, this is something Horizon Hobby, I mean, it's not their obligation to say this, but yes, the plane can land and take off on grass. However, and it can do that rather well. However, what you need to consider is if you have a nice manicured lawn or runway like they do at Eli Field and everything, that's fine and dandy. Plane does great. But most of us have a grass field or where we land in grass. The people aren't necessarily going to pick up the dry grass. They're just going to cut the grass and you've got clumps of grass, or if they mulch and the grass is all down in the thing, you've got a lot of debris grass. Well, jet engine, yes, it's a ducted fan, but still has an air intake, and I will tell you the air intake, the 70 millimeter fan is very, very strong, and it has a lot of suction, and so you're running that sucker on, if that field's not nice and manicured and they don't pick up the dry grass, well, guess what you're sucking into your air intake when you land and take off? Grass, okay? Well, I landed into a big clump of grass. It got sucked right in the inlet, and it just wound its way right in that ducted fan, all around the motor and everything. And I couldn't figure out, you know, I'm being stupid with it. I'm like, well, what the heck is the deal here? So I took off again, and I'm like, forced cell, I should have plenty of power. She barely would fly. Well, you saw the video. It just barely would fly. It was real slow. And I said, this is like being on worse than 3-cell. Make a long story short, found out what my problem was. I had all that grass in the inlet. I'm lucky I didn't burn my EDF. But the point of this video is, as I alluded to in other videos, I found something out interesting that those of you who have this Habu, or you plan on getting the Habu, when you go to assemble it, or after you've had it and you've flown it a little bit, you need to take the wing off and check the hard points where the wing connects. I'm going to show you. Okay, I've already got the screws out. Here's the Habu. It's not on the wing. Okay, let me hit it here. Already got the wings, or the wings are detached. I got the screws out, but it's in there pretty good, even without the. Okay, it's not on the wing. Wing's fine. But I want to show you. See these hard points here, 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 and here, where your screws go into? I found out when I went in here and I took the motor out, and I took this out, I cleaned all the grass up out of it and everything, and it was just a mess. But I found this hard point. It had like no glue. It was just slid in there, okay? And your screw goes in. That's the end of your end of your wing there, and it had no glue. That whole hard point just slid right out. This thing here had a little bit of this hard point here had a little bit of glue, but very little. I mean, it was just easily moved right out. This one here had no glue, and it just literally fell out. This one here was glued in nice and tight. So that tells me they did intend to have glue. This had a little bit, this had a lot. This had none, this had none. Both of them were easily just slid right in. Now because they socket, or they kind of slid in, they held. I mean, I flew several times. But that's just, and this may have just been this plane. And that may not mean that all planes. And it's such an easy fix. I didn't even call Horizon. I didn't notify him. It's such a simple fix. I'm putting this video out for those. You just check your Habu. Make sure that these are glued. Whatever glue you trust, make sure it's foam safe. Myself, I use Gorilla Glue. If it's going to be something I want a good strong glue, I just literally spit on it a little bit of water, and a little of that glue, and put it in there, and that's never coming out. Reinforced this one was same. A little bit of this with some foam tack, and a little bit of foam tack on this one, and they're not coming out now. I mean, they're in there strong. So I now feel very confident about my wing. But also, now this may have been my fault, but taking my EDF in and out a couple of times to clean it, I stripped out one of these little screws. This little black screw goes into hard plastic, so you need to be very careful. If you keep taking that screw in and out to clean your EDF out, I stripped one out. I over tightened it. Remember, these are plastic and stuff. It's easy to strip them out. So it's not into a brass fitting. It'd been nice if that had gone into a brass fitting or something like this, but it just goes into hard plastic. So be careful of that. I put a little bit of Gorilla Glue in there, that same Gorilla Glue, and now she ain't coming out. She's nice and snug. The other thing I had thought about doing was on this plane is, because you can see my landings with it, it just rolls out forever. I thought I would do flapper-ons, or really spoiler-ons for this. However, or I don't like altering a plane so much where I'm cutting into foam and altering it that much. This has a quick connect. The only way that you could take your leads from your ailerons, you'd have to disconnect this quick connect and just go in with the two ailerons individually, one into your aileron and one to an auxiliary port on your receiver in order to do flapper-on or spoiler-ons. But that means bypassing that, and I paid for this. I paid for this quick connect, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to practice and practice and practice and learn how to land this jet, you know, a little bit slower. I'm not quite familiar enough with the jet to where I know its stall point is. So I want to land a little bit faster than that stall point to where I can land it a little bit slower and not have to use up all the runway plus. But anyways, the point of this video was just to warn you about the hard points on your wing. Just be careful with that, because you are going to, if you're going to take this off jet, you know, a prop you ain't got to worry about. I mean, a prop, you know, the prop blows everything out off the side, so rarely do you get anything into your engine or your motor on a prop plane. And but on an EDF, you're going to need to, at least once in a great while, take your wing off, look at your EDF, make sure you don't have any debris. Because you get the little strand of grass ring wrapped up around that motor, well, next thing you know, you wonder why your EDF burned up on you. Well, there you go. Just preventive maintenance. So since I had to do that, I learned the hard that hey, I got these hard points about to let loose. Now, flying level, it probably wouldn't have affected it. But the moment I went inverted or did a hard outside loop inverted, that wing could have flown right off, and now I've got flying foam that's no good no more. It's going to come to a crashing halt. So anyways, that's just my little courtesy video for y'all. Those of you who are the owners or future owners of this wonderful plane. Folks, as far as the review, as far as whether, you know, beginner plane, a beginner plane on 3-cell, the ready to fly version, yes, it could be your very first plane, period. It could be. Could be. Okay? It'll fly very slow, it's very docile on 3S, and very predictable. So with a ready to fly, it's safe. But I'm going to go back to the default of get a buddy box, get someone to show you, join a club, spend time on a simulator before you put your money up in the air, and then you crash this plane, you know, and then you're discouraged and you're, you know, all the stupid hobby, and you throw it up and you just give up on it. Do your homework, do your research, talk to people, watch some YouTube videos, get a simulator, you know, and have someone, maybe it's got a used plane or a plane that they won't mind showing you how to fly their plane. Get the feel, the buddy box system, or whatever you can do to gain some experience before you put your hard-earned money and buy something and think that you can just fly it right off the bat. I'm just very leery of a jet for a beginner. It's like starting out, you're driving, the first car is a Corvette. Yeah, you can do it. This jet here may be the exception to that rule, though. It does fly. I'm not trying to talk two sides out of my mouth. It's just that it does fly very docile on 3-cell, and it's very predictable. If you get her up high enough to where you're comfortable and you can still see her really well, and you do something weird, you have time to, she's forgiving. And especially with the safe technology and using the leveling and all that, yeah, I think it could be a beginner very first plane of any kind of plane. But there again, it is a jet, you know, and as a new pilot, you're going to be excited. You're going to want to fly it as fast as you can, and until you've worked out that discipline of landing and leveling your plane and coming into the wind and being careful, you know, and develop that muscle memory. That's the only reason I'd worry about a beginner. I'm afraid they're going to want to fly it too fast because it is a jet. They're going to hurry up and get into a 4-cell, and the next thing you know, they get into an attitude, they panic, and now they're jets in the ground. I still say go back to your Aero Scouts and your Mini Apprentice and the little blue and white Hobby Zone Sport Cub S Plus, and or the Carbon Cub S S2. I still say get with those high wings, learn that muscle memory, learn how your spatial awareness with planes. With planes like that, their high wings are more docile and help you learn a little bit. But, you know, if you really feel confident, this could, like I said, this still could be a beginner plane. I worry about people wanting to get too fast and in too much of a bigger hurry with it. So I just don't, that's my thing. I want you to get discouraged and give up the hobby, because it's a great hobby. It's probably one of the best hobbies you could ever possibly have. And nothing wrong with it. It's just a good, wholesome hobby. Well, anyways, that's my public warning and my personal rant about the hobby and about the HABU STS. I don't know if I'm supposed to call it the STS because I have the plug-and-play version, but that's what I call it anyway. So it's the HABU STS by e-flite. It's an awesome jet. If you've got any flying experience at all in anything, really, you owe it to yourself to get this plane. But look out for what I said about the wings. Oh, another thing, real quick. If you're wishing to fly a 5,000 4-cell, you can. However, you'll notice that the 5,000 4-cells are usually too thick. So all I did was took a razor blade and cut the bottom of my canopy, and I cut about a ½ inch, and it's still plenty of foam between me and that incredible ugly pilot. And just sanded that off, and now that 5,000 sits in there, and the canopy just snaps down nice and secure. So just be aware of that. You can run a 5,000. Even Jason Merkel on one of the videos says you could run up to a 5,000, but you're going to have to shave away a little bit of foam with the canopy. And the other thing you might want to consider doing, this is something I did, is yes, you've got these handy dandy straps that are way too long. Put you a big nice piece of Velcro. I always put fuzzy on the batteries, and then I put the stiff on the fuse, but that's just me. And make sure whatever receiver you put in, if you do the plug and play, put your antennas basically at a rough 9 degrees from each other. Alright folks, that's all I can say. I will be doing a video on how to put the Admiral receiver in and how to program it at a later date. So that's all I've got time for right now, but thank you for watching. This is Fat Guy Flies RC. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember what I said about the wings and the hard points. Bye-bye.